Greetings, passengers. This is Aether Earned here, back with another Sims 4 speed build. As you can see, I am building a train, and I promise it won't just be the decor item from the game itself. It's actually going to be a steam train, or at least loosely based around one. I don't know a lot about trains, I just know that they look really cool, and I like them a lot. Um, I'm putting this one up as just kind of like a reference for the size and kind of shape I'm going for, because I really didn't have a specific image in mind right off the bat. I just knew that I wanted to make a train, and then I wanted it to be like that very stereotypical black steam engine at the front, and then um the train cars, not the passenger cars, but the cargo cars following behind. And so because of that, I use a bit of eco lifestyle, but I don't do limited packs for this build. Apologies in advance. I don't think I used that many. Anyways, with that being said, this video has been a long time in the making. I started it back in September, and it took, I think, up until October for me to finish it. It took 15 hours in total, and then right now it's obviously December that I'm trying to do this voiceover while still editing it. It's a lot of footage to go through, and I'm sorry if the editing isn't superb. I'm still learning, and also my file got a little messed up a few times in the process of it, so it's been a little taxing to get done. But I'm trying to get it out because it did take a long time, and I am very proud of the final product. And as you can see, this is actually the first time I'm using Toolmod on this build, which probably did not help with how long it took. I used it frequently and probably unnecessarily. I had a great time using it. If you don't have it, I would greatly recommend, if you like the little things in life and little details in your builds to just be ever so, I would definitely recommend Toolmod and probably Better Build By Mod. Both of those are great resources for Sims 4 builders. My cat is climbing me, please. So sorry. My baby. I have two cats, one's a kitten, and she's very interested in what the hell I'm doing at my computer right now. But yeah, I will try to put the links for those down below because they are very useful. This video, unrelated to that, this video might be pretty long because of just how much footage I have. So I don't expect a lot of people to watch it, but if you do, I very much appreciate it because I tried my ever so best, if that is a sentence that makes sense at all. Yeah, and also because I'm re-editing this video while doing this voiceover, I'm not going to reference what's happening on screen too much, or at least I'm going to try not to. So you don't get so confused about what the heck's going on. And so I don't get confused because then I'm gonna edit this audio and be like, what the heck's going on? And that's not gonna be a great time. Anyways, the main reason this video has taken so long is because the last few months, if you live in America, you know, or even if you don't, have just been very chaotic. The election did not go how I think a lot of us wanted it to go. And it's kind of messed up my plans for the next year. So I'm just trying to rework everything that I had prepared myself mentally for the last like 6 months of my life. I guess I kind of didn't have the plans for that long, but they were still plans, and I do not like when plans change. So there's that. I'm sorry to be so vague. I don't know how much of my life I want on the internet necessarily right now. It's kind of a learn as you go process, I suppose. But I know that I kind of would like to be on the internet. I would like the freedom it gives. The kind of entrepreneurial side of it is very appealing to me as someone who has extreme difficulty in kind of 9 to 5 jobs and the way that they just kind of eat your soul slowly over the course of however long you stay there as a neurodivergent individual. Crazy autistic am I, and I do not enjoy working in customer service, which is like the only job that I've been able to acquire thus far for myself, despite having a degree, the bare minimum of degrees, a bachelor's, but still. I suppose an associate should be the bare minimum, but it isn't in our society, and that's kind of flawed to begin with, as well as the education system at large. If you aren't aware, it's kind of the worst. But I don't know why I decided to get political. Anyways, the build is of a train. I hope you like trains. I certainly like trains, especially steam trains. They're very nice and very cool, and probably much better for the environment, or at least trains in general are, than the current source of export and kind of importation we have going at the time. This is also a political topic. on. I guess I just am really into politics today, I suppose. But yeah, um, I learned something sort of recently. It was when I was building this actually that the train system for like transporting goods from place to place is currently severely under regulated in our country, and and the workers are obviously treated like absolute garbage, as most places treat their workers like garbage, but more so for those individuals are trying to cut it down to only like 1 or 2. I think it's only a minimum of 2 people manning one train at the time, at this moment in time. And they're trying to cut it down to 1, which is insane. But don't necessarily quote me on that. I could be incorrect. I maybe should fact check that before sharing it on the internet. On top of that, there have also been numerous accounts of individuals having to choose between having a job and going to a doctor for health reasons in this industry, which is unfortunately not an uncommon occurrence in America, especially for manual laborers and minimum wage workers. I myself, who is also a slightly above minimum wage worker, I'm fortunate enough not to be in this position, but it's still disheartening and terrifying to hear nonetheless. But moving away from politics and back to the build finally, and hopefully staying there, or at least on maybe a lighter topic. I know that most people come to YouTube and content creators for an escape, and though this is my escape, I don't want to put it down around your day as I juggle my cat away from my computer because she's very interested in whatever I'm doing, and also the very much moving mouse on my computer screen. She loves that. She really wants to just like attack it. But usually when building in The Sims, I tend to go for a kind of neutral color palette a lot because it's the easiest to get like that eclectic vibe and still make it look like it all matches. And it's the best way to make it's the closest I could probably get to my style and still making it look good because it's not anywhere near my style necessarily, but it's at least the same fundamentals of like everything's from a different pack or location or whatever. It all looks like it came from different places, but all somehow looks like it kind of goes together. And it all looks very unique and interesting. Um, I tried to do little aspects of like industrial vibes and accurate details that would be in kind of a train if you were to live in a train, which, I mean, conductors kind of do when they're traveling across country. Um, but there are also fantastical aspects that wouldn't quite make sense in real life, like decor items just on the wall, not sort of stabilized in any way. You can't really have things on shelves when you're constantly moving and jostling around like on a train. Or at least you probably should. They will probably get broken. But I really enjoy little knickknacks and clutter items. They're my favorite thing in the entire world. I have those all over the place in my own space. Um, Specifically little guys, like those little stone guys you get from crystal shops, or little metal guys I get from the Ren Fair that people make. They're my favorite thing in the whole world. I went this year during October. Another reason why this video took so long, I was out of town, and I got a really itty bitty clown figure made out of metal, and you can lay him on either side, and he looks so funny. He's so cute. I love him. I think I called him Itty the clown because he's itty bitty. And then last year, I got this really tiny wizard that's about the same size from the same people because I love them. And I wish I remembered the shop name. I do not, but if I find it, I'll put it up on the screen. But I got this little wizard and I named him Bite the Wizard because I also got a tiny but slightly larger than the wizard dragon who I named Beatrice after my grandmother, who used to go to them a lot when she was younger and still alive. She loved the Ren Fair and she had all sorts of like metal figurines. And so every year when I go get one. And that was the last year was the first time I had ever gone, so I got a little dragon and I named it after her. And she's adorable. I love her. She lives on my shelf with Bite the Wizard and now Itty the Clown. And also my much larger than both of them, but still relatively small sword lady, who I think I named Madeline, the sword lady. Because I couldn't think of anything. And Madeline sounded like a really fancy name. But yeah, I love my little trinkets. So that's probably the most accurate thing in this build that you will see that's kind of representative of my real life is trinkets everywhere. The only other thing would be kind of lived in beat up style because I really like upcycling and obviously worn in well loved items, things that look secondhand or fully are, if not like fifth or sixth hand. The Werewolves pack, which I bought while building this, but not at the beginning of the build. You'll see towards the end of like the engine room, which we're in right now, how I got that along with the paranormal and horse ranch packs, I believe, when the sale was going on in October after I'd gotten home. And how I think I've run through a few swatches of a few things. I don't think I left all of that in the video, but I left a bit of it in. The next pack I would really like to get is the most recent, Life and Death. It is right up my alley with the build items and the content. I was so excited to see it. I'm so excited to get it. I'm probably going to wait till it's on sale. But it looks so cool. I love the holes in the walls and the roof and the floor and everything. And the aspect of Grim and working as a Grim turn is hilarious and so goofy. And it's so exciting. I really want to do like a Adam's Family inspired build for that when I get it. But I don't see it going on sale for a while, unfortunately, so it's gonna have to wait. but I'm so excited to get my hands on that. And my cat is playing. So sorry, she's adorable, but such a menace. But at this point in the build, I'm starting to think more about the kind of person who's living in this train engine and who runs this train, and kind of more of the story behind it. So I was thinking that it would be an older woman or an older person, um, who loves to travel, obviously, loves to work with their hands, doesn't mind maintaining the train, running it, kind of knowing that she's not going to be in one place for very long, but kind of enjoying the aspect of being able to see so many places at once. Or not at once, but like at like a year or at a time. Um, Kind of enjoying the freedom of not really staying put and being kind of restless with the idea of it. Even she likes to keep busy whenever she's not working on the train. She's working on some sort of carpentry project or writing to one of her nieces and nephews who live abroad, maybe with an estranged sibling or niece or nephew or other niece or nephew, maybe. I don't know, but like a distant family member she keeps in touch with, but isn't particularly close to. Um, and I think she is probably very kind and understanding, but also kind of stoic seeming. Like the kind of, when you meet someone and they're so chill, it's kind of stressful. It's kind of that vibe. Where it's like she seems to have everything figured out and you so don't. And it's just like, wow, I don't know how to interact with you. But yeah, I actually made a sim for this because I ended up using this build for the Reaper's Rewards challenge. And in that story, I made um, Lorelai. Lorelai, what was it, Gilman? I named her Lorelai Gilman, aka Gilly Gilman. Um, and I had a werewolf sim named Rory Growls. Yes, these are references to Gilmore Girls. No, they are not based specifically off the characters, obviously. And I also made that werewolf sim not realizing there was already a werewolf sim named Rory. But that's okay. They were friends. It was Rory and Rory till the end. But the story behind those two characters, those two Sims, basically was that Rory ended up becoming a werewolf and having to run away from their very anti werewolf parents, and ended up jumping onto Gilly's train, and Gilly found them and took them in instead of turning them into the police for breaking into a train. And Gilly starts to kind of support and teach Rory kind of the skills they need to survive in the world as they are, and kind of gives them the space and guidance to decide whether or not they want to stay a werewolf or go a different path and try to figure out what they want to be. But then mysteriously, Gilly ends up dying, and Rory is left alone. And this is during the Reaper's Awards event, so I played through that basically with the goal of bringing Gilly back to life, which I did. I did end up doing. And they get their little happy ending. Rory decides that they want to stay a werewolf, that they're happy that way, and that they want to continue traveling around with Gilly for some time, and see the world, and maybe become the next train conductor. And Gilly is obviously very happy to hear that. She's been running this train for a long time. She doesn't want to hand it over to just anybody. And it's going to be time for her to eventually retire. She did just die. So I think she wants to maybe lay back and not worry so much about some things. Maybe she'll stop being so restless, but I think we know she won't be. But yeah, her space in particular took a long time to really figure out and get. It was the first thing I built, and obviously I wasn't entirely sure at this point. I hadn't decided on whether or not I was going to build like a train station or anything because this was before Reaper's Rewards event that I was building this. I finished it during that event during the first week, but I started it in September, so it was way before this, and I hadn't quite decided what I was doing at the outside. And then I did decide when the Reaper's Rewards came around. And I also go back and switch out a few things for items that I got in the newer packs that I had purchased from this sale, like paranormal werewolves. Horse Ranch completely blanked, and you'll also see that the engine room looks completely different than when it did earlier. I think I switched around the editing a little bit. Oops. Just ignore that. There's going to be a few inconsistencies where you see things that are done before they were actually done. Because I like I said, I tend to jump around a lot. I will try not to do that in future videos, but this one was just so long, I ended up cutting things up, and and I had the file kind of fall apart a few times. So mistakes were made, and hopefully in the future they will not be made again. At this point, I've moved a lot from Newcrest to the new werewolf world, and I've started to build the train station around the train. I decided to go with something rundown and abandoned, of course, and it's overrun with werewolves and just general vagrants just kind of passing through and using it as community space that it should not be. I go for a kind of basic shape for the main office building. I looked up a few references for kind of middle of nowhere train stops, and this is kind of what I got generally. And I end up building a platform around it with a little ticket window that is not used as a ticket window anymore, but it was. And I put little signs around it and everything so people can see the stops that maybe are available for that day, times, how much the tickets are, etc. And I end up switching the lot around in orientation because I feel like it looked a lot more realistic and also generally better and easier to play with. Because the main building that I used when I was playing was mainly the office space, despite the bedrooms having the most stuff, because the office spaces had like the only stove. um, yeah, it had the only stove that I put on this lot. The lot is completely functional. I did test it. Um, it's just that things are in weird places, and there are multiple fridges. One in the office that I had, and one in the one in Gilly's room. So your Sims end up going to the wrong fridge sometimes to cook things. And I also put not a lot of counter space, so sometimes there are some things that they cannot cook, but it is fully functional as long as you're not trying to cook anything that requires more than one tile of counter space, I suppose. Sims are weird like that, especially in very cluttered and also very small living spaces, which is a really weird thing to think about. But I am very proud of how the exterior turned out on this one. I think it was much more thought out than my previous build. My previous build was just very overpopulated with plants and overgrowth, but this one has various fences, and various different areas where people can kind of gather and do certain activities that you will see later on in the video. You can see some of the items that I wanted to put down scattered, but I don't. I believe I moved most of the footage for that towards the end of the video, but I did leave some of it here, which was mainly just the front exterior of the build, which I think looks so good. It looks so obviously like so many people have come and gone from this place, just leaving their own marks on it, and how like the fences are falling apart, but they're still a perfectly intact metal fence, but that's not really stopping anyone from getting in there because it's only half of the lot and it's really only protecting the dumpster, which has clearly been attacked with spray paint. I think it turned out really well. You can also see the sim I made for Uri in the front, along with Gilly's grave, actually. Um, because I got started on making those sims while finishing up the build, and I killed her with the MC Command Center cheats. I think I killed her with poison because in my mind I feel like her past probably caught up with her and an old vexed person. I don't know. Gilly's lived a long life, and so someone poisoned her for living, I suppose. I don't. I didn't quite think too far into her story. Once I started the Reaper's Rewards uh, challenge, and I didn't really finish the story beyond saving Gilly and uh, getting Rory some skills in werewolves. I might continue playing with The Sims, but I don't think I'll keep up with it on YouTube. I would like to do Let's Plays on this channel, but I don't think I'll be doing them right away because I'm not the greatest at talking while playing games. I usually end up talking in my head and to myself, which doesn't always read very well to others. Talking is a skill that I am very uh, new at. You think I'd be good at it, having been talking for many years, but no, not particularly. But at one point, I decide on this bar. I'm trying to think of the word bar stand. I don't think that's correct. I initially tried to make a desk or like a counter area, but I then realized that this bar looks a lot um like a clerk's desk, and I thought it would work really well for reading as a repurposed clerk desk for a ticket station that was turned into a bar by the people who are coming here. And I think it looks really good. I added like the little candies, like the cursed candies, which give Coraline vibes so much, especially considering that they have that little cursed doll in the paranormal pack with the button eyes. That doll obviously doesn't look like Coraline, but that and the candies just immediately screamed that movie to me. And one thing that I really want to do some point soon is make my own kind of Coraline-esque doll, based on my character Neverless from my one of my story ideas, which I built. My last and first build was based on that story and Les's house. And I wanted to make a doll of that character because I have what they look like pretty fleshed out, and I'd rather make them than like my own personal doll. Personally, um, I don't think I want a mini me to hang out in my room. I end up jumping around a lot in this build, and I end up changing quite a few things to make it more functional for the Reaper's Rewards challenge, such as the room you see to the right of where I'm working on right now. I'm really just throwing some details onto the side of the building, but this kind of like dance area that I made ends up changing to be a little bit more functional. It does stay as a dance area, but it also becomes like the cooking area. And I'm a little sad that I changed it because I liked how it turned out, but I also like that it was more functional. And even that ends up changing because I needed it to be more functional because your Sims can't cook on tables and desks, which is ridiculous. They should be able to. They need counters though, so I end up having to switch it twice. And on the outside, I do a lot of like allocated areas for skills in this build. Like I have the seance area, the dance area. There's this area that I'm working on, which is the gardening area, before I go back to working on the dance area again to update it and add more details to it. I had so many decals and graffiti and posters I imagine a lot of them are for like bands in the area doing underground concerts and such. And then I eventually do put in a functional stove. As I mentioned prior, it's a wood burning stove, I believe. Or it's at least one of those stoves that always has a fire in it. No, it's the wood burning stove. I couldn't remember which one I did, but I did one of the older ones. I really liked that more industrial stove that would. It looks like a stove, but it's a fireplace. It should be both, but I understand why it's not. It can only probably brew coffee, which is why I think there's a kettle on it. But I also have the desk, like I said, which you cannot cook on, which I think is really stupid. You should be able to cook on tables and desks because desks and tables are interchangeable and they're both surfaces that are basically the same height as counters. I don't understand why I can't cook on them, Sims. Let me cook on surfaces that are surfaces you can cook on. But they do not let you do that, so I had to switch that out in the end for just normal counters, which is what's on the save. Although while playtesting, my sim started a fire and the dumpster got destroyed, so when you do place the slot, you will have to replace the dumpster. Very sorry about that. I didn't notice until afterwards, and I'm not gonna re-upload it. That's a pain. I don't want to do that. But yeah, I think this area still turned out pretty good, although I liked how it looked prior. But there's a lot of different functionalities to this slot that I really wanted to fit in there. There's so many skills you can build here. There's fitness, there's dancing, there's the seance. I think it's the seance skill. It might be the sorcery skill. I honestly don't remember. But there's that. There's photography because I put a camera somewhere. I think there's knitting and crochet. There's the woodworking table, so handiness, painting. So many. But I finally, at one point, I think earlier than what I'm saying right now, I finally get to the second part of the train. I apologize if even the voiceover jumps around. I've been using CapCut for both the editing for the footage and also my audio, and I don't think it's working out. I think it tends to glitch a lot, especially with the visuals, so it's hard to keep track. I think for the next video, I'll be using iOS for my audio instead if I can. I think I can. I'm not entirely sure how that works as of right now, but I'll figure it out. But I go for a similar eclectic vibe to Gilly's part, but more of, but even further beyond that, where it's things that seem like they've just been patched together, using a lot of werewolves, and I think a little bit of Horse Ranch as well as paranormal. I use a lot of those three in this build. For their space, I was going for also very occult, also very paranormal, but also very like grungy, punky, not completely clean. Like Gilly's space is obviously pristine and very organized. This one I want it to be a little bit more chaotic, organized in its own way, but very much still a huge pile of seemingly just a mess. I use a lot of the werewolf like unlockable clutter as clutter, unlockable items as clutter. So sorry. And at one point, I tried to do this kind of like cozy nook area with curtains. Oh my goodness, I cannot speak. I try to use curtains to make a cozy nook area, but I do give up on that because it ends up not looking super great. And I tried to use like the ones with the hanging beads, and I feel like on a train that's just annoying and will hit you in the face while you're sleeping. So I also use a lot of posters everywhere because I feel like Rory would have a billion, especially for concerts. She probably stole them from the walls of the of the ticket office, honestly, because she can't be bothered to go get them. But I'm sure she got some from concerts she's actually been to. I also put that creepy doll in here that's cursed. I put the cursed version I ended up removing it when I was playing because it got really annoying. But it is at this point, we are nearing the end of the footage I have, and headed towards some of the screenshots I took for the video. I hope you guys enjoyed. Sorry, it was a little scrambled, but I will try to make it a little bit more consistent next time. And I hope you guys enjoyed the screenshots. This is Aether Earned, signing off.